4 seconds out with the Sun's boxing reporter, Wally Downs Jr. Wally, sir, how are you doing?
Good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad at all. Good to be here, good to speak to you. Let's jump into the most pressing matter. Fury versus Usyk. I'll set the table for you. Frank Warren originally said 50-50, easiest fight to make. There's been some movements on that. The easiest fight to make has now fallen by the wayside.
Yeah, going right back to August. They were so confident that Usyk would beat AJ again that they were in talks. We were taken to meet the head of sport out there, 3 or 4 of the British reporters, and he said, yeah, the money's ready. It will be in Riyadh. You know, we've got 2 or 3 stadiums, no problem. And then just the closer and closer it got, the worse and worse it got. Tyson took to Instagram and everything's collapsed. You know, the rematch was ripped up, then it was reinstated. From what I understand, the crux of it was the cut of the rematch. You know, in retaliation to accepting 70-30 to fight on foreign soil, he wanted 70-30 back to him, which sounds reasonable. You know, allegedly Tyson said, I'll do 50-50. And Usyk by then had said, no, I've done enough, I've tried enough. And you can only sort of try. You can only really have a laugh about it, because otherwise and use some gallows humour, because the frustration, the actual anger of it would drive you mad. So anyone who is a fan of Tyson, a fan of Queensbury, or they'll believe Tyson's side, and they'll bring up Tyson's incredible numbers of what he's sold recently and the money that he's earned. Anyone who doesn't really like Tyson very much will say that he's ducked Usyk. So, you know, the truth is always somewhere in the middle, but trying to explain that middle is often laborious and boring. So, yeah, the people that scream Tyson's ducked, how can he duck? He went to Germany, he's gone to America for Wilder 3 times. So, yeah, somewhere in the middle there'll be some truth. It's just really sad, disappointing. I was speaking today, we've only got 4 male world champions now. It wasn't that long ago we had 13. This sport needs world champions. It needs big fights, because otherwise people will watch other stuff. So, yeah, big blow, disappointing. And it's when you get your hopes up. The AJ one in December, we never really thought was a goer, short notice. But this had so long to work on, so disappointing. Yeah, but we go again somehow.
Do you feel the talks or the negotiations from Tyson Fury's end were legitimate in the sense that, look, the time frame was closing in on the date there? Sugar Hill wasn't in the country, and there's always this talk of Manuel Charr stepping in and out of the shadows. So do you feel that the Fury negotiations were legitimate, or just obstacles to make the fight break down?
It's strange. So I have a few friends that message me saying, oh, he's so greedy, and I understand their opinion, but when Usyk bows to his demands, that's genius. That's excellent negotiating. Imagine anyone else in any other form of business. If you can get your competitor to take a smaller cut, if you can beat that person, you can't tell me that Eddie Hearn or Usyk, when they're doing deals with other people, that they offer more for an AJ fight. What he was doing was brilliant. He was getting the undisputed heavyweight world title fight in his backyard for 70-30. Excellent negotiating. You couldn't imagine anything more clever. But now it's fallen through. Yeah, it's disastrous and greedy. So I think he's an excellent negotiator. I think probably young traveller boys that come out of school really early, most of them have to go to work. 12, 13, 14. It's a cultural thing where they go to work and they are constantly negotiating. I think Tyson talks about selling cars at 13. Everything he does, I think he does himself. So when a lot of it, I think, is off the cuff. And I think he's just always pushing to get away with it. The WBC are completely behind him. He can do no wrong. He can do whatever he wants with the WBC. He knows that. He knows that he can sell 64,000 tickets for Derek Chisora 3 at Tottenham in December. That's in the bank. He's got so much stuff in the bank that he can push boundaries all the time. And when it comes off, that video I did, I thought was a real problem when he shouted out to Klimas and Krasiuk, you idiots, you've got your guy the worst. These are serious dudes, right? These ain't bums messing around. Right? They are serious dudes. And I would imagine when they all saw that, they thought, aside from all, the money and the rematch clause, insulting them like that, trying to take the piss a little bit after they've done all the work, that's probably wasn't the wisest move. But yeah, I'm sure he would have stepped in the ring and had the fight. He was pushing and it didn't work out in the end.
Alex Krassyuk spoke to Danny Flexen at seconds out, he also spoke to IFL and he said, look, Usyk's getting paid 3 times less than what he did against Joshua. Is this a bit of a reality check in terms of what Tyson Fury's draw and star is, and maybe he doesn't realise he can't get the money that maybe he perceives he's worth?
Well, no, I think once you take out Saudi Arabia, or once you put in Saudi Arabia, everything changes, really. I mean, if you was to guess and be really generous and say that Fury Usyk did 1 million UK buys at 40 quid, that's, the most expensive one and really healthy number. There's 40 million. 100,000 at Wembley, if your average ticket is 50 quid, another 5, it's... So you're talking, Saudi talk about 100 million site fee bang, 60 million site fee. That's why it's hugely different. So the idea was 3 times less. Yeah, look, both sides now are going to throw stuff in. Tyson and Queensberry will be able to bring up some of Usyk's purses. Probably I'm sure that Chisora behind closed doors was not a great earning night for Alexander. And he's had to go away so many different countries to collect the belts at cruiserweight. So you'll be able to throw insults both sides. Tyson is a huge star, whether you like it or not. He's got the WBC belt, which is the gold standard belt in most people's eyes, and he's got this incredible draw. I've been at events where 55-year-old tattooed builders break down in tears and spend thousands of pounds on merchandise with his name on and tell him that he's a hero. Like he's done something that I haven't seen done really before. So like a film star, a singer. He can command outrageous things, and he doesn't really seem to care about the consequences. He can fight Ngannou next. He can fight Wild. He can do whatever he wants. So it's frustrating, but again, he earned the right. He went and did Klitschko. He had to get the ring ripped up. He took Deontay on when he was still obese, and he had 2 silly warm-up fights. As frustrating as it is, and if you don't like him, then he's greedy and he's ruining the sport. If you really respect what he did with Klitschko and Wilder, then he's earned the right to do it.
Well, look, perception seems that Tyson Fury is a little bit skewing because this fight has collapsed. Will it also... It's maybe a double disappointment in the sense that, look, this now reopens the door if the fight does get made for Saudi Arabia to come back in and the fight get hosted over there.
Yeah, one of the things that I think has sort of been papered over quite quickly is... I know that one of the original excuses for Saudi Arabia not hosting the fight in April was that stadium wasn't ready. Now, to me, that can't be true because I've been there before. That they built the Ruiz Stadium in about 5 weeks. When we went and met some of the high-ranking people over there, they've got stadiums and they can get built, pretty immorally, with immigrant work very, very quickly. So I didn't buy the stadium stuff. And how could Usyk have agreed all of his terms, every element, 50-50, if they don't have a stadium in mind? So that was a problem. So yeah, I mean, that's the problem for me. What Usyk can do next is not sadly. Listen, it's great to see Daniel Dubois in that fight, but it's just a shame. I can't really say much more than it's just so frustrating. Everything that comes after that is going to be really underwhelming now. The AJ fight is going to be a bit of a damp squib, whatever Tyson does. Do I think they can get it back in Saudi? Yeah. I think they prefer their shows in the winter, don't they? I've been over there. It's extremely hot any other time. So I hope they come back in. But I do think that these huge site fees, which fighters earn, risk their life every day, but they completely... They muddy the water of what is value over here. It's a little bit similar. I remember when DAZN had to overpay fighters all the time to fight Canelo, to make them a big name. And then the fighters wanted the same money. Of course they did. They just got it. So, they've come in and they've disrupted the industry. But now guys have a set figure in their mind. And when Saudi don't want it, if you don't get £100 million Saudi fee, where are you going to get that money from in the UK? So it's just disrupted everything, which is great for those fighters that do get those Saudi fights. But then the rest of us have to try and pick up the pieces, and that's going to be a problem.
Tyson Fury's next opponent, will it be Char? Who's on the shortlist, do you feel? It's got to be someone good, right?
You've just said it'll be Char. It's not someone good then, is it? I really don't know. Look, it's trouble in that it doesn't have a mandatory because they called Wilder and Ruiz, and that's never happened. I remember his brother talking about how Ruiz would be a great fight to sort of God-fearing men. Ngannou is hanging around. We know the WBC are quite happy to make sort of crossover freakish fights as long as they can stick a belt on it. So Tyson will be able to do whatever he wants, as unpalatable as that might be. I don't think that BT Sport would let him do Char as his broadcaster, as their pay-per-view broadcaster. So I don't think they would go as low as Char. I wouldn't rule out an Ngannou. I wouldn't rule out a Ruiz. But, again, he hasn't got any mandatories. Usyk's got 3 mandatories, bang, 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 all lined up straight away, ready to go. Dubois, Hergovich, Joyce. Fury's got nothing. He's got no pressure on him. He'll be able to do whatever he wants.
From heavyweights to heavy hitters, the viewership, it seemed, was skyrocketed. This was the discourse between Simon Jordan and Eddie Hearn. The question I want to ask you about that is, did anything that was said between either party sway your position on Conor Benn's innocence?
No, I sort of sat there with my laptop to listen to it all and take down anything that was newsworthy or new, and my page was empty. And I don't think that isn't a criticism of anyone, but what is new? There is no news. The stuff that I was hearing was what some of us had heard as far back as October. It was 2 very rich, well-spoken men shouting at each other, really. I didn't know if they was going to whip out their wallets or their willies and measure up. I get some people find it entertaining. It did nothing for me. Hasn't swayed my opinion either way. We spoke around Beterbiev and Yard, didn't we? Conor needs to clear it up with the board. He doesn't want to do that, so he's going to fight abroad. There is nothing new to add to this saga, which is, frustrating, because I'm sure every fighter here is getting asked about it. One thing I don't like is this sort of, from the people that earn money out of Conor Benn, whether that be broadcaster promoters, pushing the idea that we just need to get past it. We just need to get past it. That isn't fair. That's not right, and the board shouldn't be bullied into it. If Conor is innocent, I understand that he's got lots of evidence. He's got this 270-page document. Then that should, he should be able to get around the table with the board and get a deal done. The board have done deals with other people and via UCAD. So I don't want to keep hearing, let's just move on. It's time to move on. Conor needs to fight. Yeah, he needs to fight there. He has to fight abroad. If someone comes in and burgles your house, you don't want to hear the police saying, "Look, it's been a while. Can we just leave it alone now?" And I'm not saying Conor's committed a crime, but people want to know the reason, and just saying let's move on. Well, yeah, you want to move on because you're going to make money out of his next fight. So, I'm sure the next one will be abroad. And then, again, just hope it all gets sorted out. It's both parties seem to want to sort it out. The board will want Conor's sanctioning fees, and Eddie has said repeatedly he needs Conor to fight in this country. This is where Conor's a huge draw. So, again, we're still a long way. It's happened a long time ago, and there doesn't seem to be any changing. But I just don't want to hear, let's just forget it, because that doesn't do anyone any favours. We shouldn't forget that Tyson Fury was out for 2.5 years. He had problems, but he served a ban. That shouldn't be forgotten. You can't just keep saying let's forget it because it suits your agenda.
What Eddie Hearn is pushing for, as you mentioned, is that the fight next in Abu Dhabi. Manny Pacquiao is the one that's been touted, but Chris Eubank Jr. has kind of come in the woodwork. The deadline was met. Chris Eubank Jr. activated the rematch clause, but speaking to Liam Smith, it seems like it's not likely, which seems to lend the path for Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. A fight many questioned the first time round. Chris Eubank Jr. will get some leniency in terms of the weight there, but still the questions in the cloud surrounds even more so with that fight going ahead if it does.
Yeah, so Chris went on social media on Valentine's Day, didn't he, and said, I activate the clause. But from what I understand, the deal's not done. So it's really unfortunate for Liam, who's probably, his popularity's on the crest of a wave, fantastic win. But from what I gather, he can't book another fight. Even if he wanted to do the Janibek mandatory, he can't. He's got to wait for Chris's decision about what goes on. Chris is in this strange position now where, despite suffering a really punishing loss, he can go to Abu Dhabi and fight Conor for £6 million, or he can fight Liam again for a couple of £1 million, I assume. So I would imagine him and his people are playing those two scenarios up against each other. I know DAZN are absolutely desperate, and they're quite confident that they make that fight in Abu Dhabi on June 3. and you've got Kell Brook, who is now out there out in Fuerteventura training. So if Conor can't get Eubank, then you imagine Conor gets Kell. And it's just a shame that out of those four, Liam Smith, the one who's just had a great win, is sort of trapped at the minute. He's the one that should be fighting any of those guys. So I would guess that Eubank fights Conor on June 3. Maybe uses this rematch, keeps getting his money bumped up, gets a bit more money, is allowed to go to 160. And then, I guess that at least Liam will then be free, because that's a shame he's being held up, and then Kell and Eubank can, Kell can do whatever he wants to do next.
And he's also made the move to launch a channel on Sky, Eddie Hearn back on the Sky platform, ramping up the competition. Is this a move of strategy or necessity for Eddie Hearn for success and viewership on his boxing fights on the DAZN platform?
The DAZN on Sky. I've felt a bit sorry for DAZN, because they have tried. I'm sure everyone in boxing speaks to their people all the time, and they are really trying. It's new money. They had to overspend. They had to mess around with the market a little bit, but they do want to hold good fights. I've been to some great shows. Not being on normal television or being able to come through Sky. I still don't think they can come through Virgin. I still don't think they can come through BT. Again, I might be wrong. That's troubling, but again, they're a rival, so why were those guys going to help? They're still not getting pushed on Sky Sports News, which is such a huge vehicle. You have BT Sport, who have Premier League football, so they get to push, Saturday night when the game finishes, go and watch this fight. So it's tough for them. Hopefully AJ coming back is a huge boost for them, and really gets a lot of subscribers. Getting back on a TV channel, it is huge, and I do understand that everyone watches stuff on an app, but when I sit indoors, I'd much rather watch something on a big screen rather than my phone, to be honest. So hopefully it helps. I think they've done lots of things right. I think when they come in, they was a little bit like The Athletic, the magazine outlet. They sort of come in and said, right, everything's rubbish, you lot are old, we're going to blow you all away, you lot are finished. And then it hasn't happened like that. So listen, I hope all the people there do well. I hope it kicks on. And hopefully, getting on that Sky channel will help things.
Crucial chess piece might be that DAZN is available in pubs now.
Oh, it is, yeah? Oh, well, that's absolutely huge, yeah. Yeah, it's really big. I mean, I know how expensive it is for pubs to buy any of those shows, Sky and BT. It's crippling. You have to almost sell tickets. You have to guarantee a huge thing. So, that's great news, because I've grown up, had some great nights in pubs watching those sorts of things. So, and again, America not having as many huge fights as it used to. Saudi and Abu Dhabi, maybe if you find it a bit unpalatable going there for political or whatever reasons, time difference-wise for us, you can go to the pub or watch massive fights at home. So, I hope that helps. Anything that helps any of the broadcasters, I'm all in favour for.
Conscious of keeping you for any longer, so Wally will leave that there, but I'll put it in the description. Where can we find more of your work and follow you on social media?
Just at the Sun, sun.co.uk.
Twitter presences, social media?
No. Just a private account for fun on there. Nothing serious.
Wally Downes Jr., been a pleasure. Thank you so much for speaking to the Seconds Out. Much appreciated.